folks, welcome to The Gifted Ones. I'm your host, Liz Throb, and we are really excited today because we have an incredible guest with us, Sherry Brouzes, who is going to talk about Feng Shui and all the different things that we can do to improve both finances and relationship. So let's get right to it. Sherry is a certified Feng Shui practitioner and graduate of the International Feng Shui School, where she learned to practice practical form and international Feng Shui. She is also a graduate from the New York Institute of Art and Design, gaining advanced knowledge of interior design for both residential and commercial spaces. She is a red ribbon professional Feng Shui consultant with the International Feng Shui Guild, and she incorporates dowsing, color therapy, psychology, crystal therapy, essential oils, and of course the laws of attraction in her consultations. Thank you and so much for coming to join us today, Sherry.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here, Liz. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's get right to the first question. So anybody watching this has, if they don't know what Feng Shui is, could you explain to them what exactly Feng Shui is?
Of course. Feng Shui is an ancient Chinese study going back 3, 4, some even think 5,000, 6,000 years ago.
Wow.
And it's basically the arrangement of the environment to bring harmony and balance to enhance the quality of one's life.
Wow. And I know that it works because I've actually had you in my house and done a consultation for me, and you're very thorough, I have to say.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things I learned about when you did the consultation for me was the elements and how important they are. So could you explain to our viewers what are elements and why are they important?
Of course. In Feng Shui, there's a theory called 5 elements, which is the 5 elements in nature. And all of these elements represent a different kind of energy or chi.
Right.
And there's 5 of them, and I'll go over them briefly with you if you like.
Yeah.
The first one's water. The water energy, water ki, because that's what it's ki in Chinese. It's also ki in Japanese, or prana in India. So that's what chi is. Chi is also the universal force, or the universal vital energy that's in everything around us. It's in the heavens, it's in the furniture, it's right down to the atomic structure.
Okay.
Because it's yin and yang. To get back to the elements, water is a downward energy. It's going down, it's reflective. It can be dark or light, or it's wavy and moving constantly, just like water. The wood element is represented by upward chi, growth up, and it's represented by wood, live wood, not dead wood. It has to be live plants or something that represents flowers, etc. Wood that is like furniture, etc., doesn't really qualify as an element in Feng Shui.
I did not know that.
In classical Feng Shui.
Okay.
And also next we have the earth element, which is basically represented in squares, flat, squat furniture. The earth element is stable, grounding ki or energy. And then next is metal energy, which is, metal energy is cutting and piercing and downward, kind of downwards.
Okay.
And if there's too much metal energy in an environment, it can create too much criticism and too much analytical type of behavior or that feeling. For example, let's say you walk into a home, or you see in magazines this big, beautiful, you walk into a condo and it's glass mirrors all over the place,
right,
or big glass windows with the ocean and all the white furniture. That is metal. Metal is represented by the color white, gray, and all the metal colors.
Okay.
Where were we? What's next? Now we get earth, wood,
water,
earth,
and then
metal.
fire would be the
fire.
Yeah.
As I have on my lovely fire element here. The fire element in Feng Shui is a very auspicious element. Its direction is south, and the fire element is upward and expanding energy, just like a flame. It goes outwards, so it's ascending energy. And the fire element, as we know, if you have too much fire element, it can make aggressive behavior. People can get really agitated. anxious, and then a little bit of red just kind of balances out the other elements. So you have to be very careful where you place the fire element in your home, and be careful not to put too much metal with the fire, because metal melts fire.
Of course. So it really goes, it goes quite deep.
It does.
You know,
it does,
and
Liz.
for someone like you who's had the specific training that you've had, it's why it's really important. Like, I'm an amateur feng shui. I investigated it on the internet, as you do. But you know, when I had you come over, I was blown away by just the things that I had done naturally, but more into what you had discovered, where I needed to move things, add more of one of the elements to an area. For example, my career space and my love space, right?
Yeah.
So, like, explain to people, like, there's different quadrants, isn't there?
Yes,
in a home?
there is.
So,
in classical feng shui, which is, there are different methods of feng shui. There's different schools, they're called. And I practice classical feng shui, which is the traditional feng shui that goes back. And it's directive-based, directions. It's based on the 8 directions in the compass. Okay. So in order for me to do a feng shui audit, I need to come out and take a reading of the facing of your home so that I can determine the way this Bagua map that you just said, it's like an energy map that you place over the structure, whether it's your home, it could be your office, it could be where you work. And these guas, they're called, there's 8 of them, and each one of them represent a specific area of our life. For example, you were just mentioned how we activated your career gua, or your relationship gua. By doing so, classical feng shui is a complex mathematical system to find where the energy in that structure is located. Okay. It's called flying star feng shui.
Okay.
And it's quite interesting because the elements or the numbers that annually fly, the word fly, they're not really stars, but it's energy that the Chinese masters over the years figured out how the energy works with the magnetic forces of the earth.
Right.
So there's this formula you do, and each combination of these stars represent, perhaps you have too much metal in this area of your home, so you need to balance it out with one of the other elements. And that's basically how flying star feng shui works.
Right.
The Bagua. In other schools of feng shui, the Western feng shui, they don't use directions. They use what's called the 3-door method. And you take the Bagua and put it over the base of the Bagua map. And it's either the career section, the helpful people and travel section, or knowledge and wisdom section. I started learning feng shui that way because I found it was a little bit not as in-depth as the classical feng shui, but all schools have their merit. They all have their merit, but I find for immediate good effect of good feng shui that the flying stars is definitely more effective.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
there you go. Now, one of the interesting things that I discovered that I didn't know was that it's like it changes every year. So
yes.
You'll have someone like yourself come out, and then at the end of the year, things will have to be switched around or changed up, or elements will be needed to be added, right?
That's right.
So it's like it's important to have somebody like you in your life, basically.
It helps.
It sure does help.
It does help, yeah.
Well, I explained at the beginning that, there are many types of feng shui, and you've just sort of talked about them. And, with you training in traditional and Western feng shui, is there one that you prefer to work in? I just kind of briefly touched on that with you about I prefer the classical feng shui, the traditional. Right.
Although there are times when you can't use flying star feng shui because you might not know the year the house was built, right. Or you might have a really large building that you just want to use intentional feng shui. And intentional feng shui is basically the same as flying stars. You're still using the directions, but you don't use the flying star calculations. And that also can be very effective. Not as effective as flying star feng shui,
Right.
in my opinion.
Right.
But it has very good merit also. But I would have to say, yes, I prefer the classical feng shui.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know which one this falls under, but I remember having, doing the research back in the day when I first gained interest in feng shui. And it really does change the way you feel in your home, and it changes everything. I should tell everybody that after Sherry came and did my home, I landed this gig. So it really does change things in the career path. And, obviously, I'm still married, so.
Definitely. Not surprising. Not surprised.
Just newlyweds, I better still be married.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things that I was going to tell you about was I discovered that I'm a Mother Earth element. And so what does that mean? Like, how do people find out what their element is?
Well, that's called your personal QA number, QUA, or your personal energy number. And your personal energy number is calculated from the year of your birth.
Okay.
In Chinese feng shui, it's just believed that the minute we come onto the earth and we take our first breath, it's part of our soul, and our energy is then expanded into the universe. And that time is our human chi.
Okay.
It's our chi. And it's our personal energy chi. And when a feng shui consultation is being done, the consultant, I will go into your home and do your home. But it's also the person's individual QA number to see how supportive that home is for you.
Right.
And you are a 2, which is Mother Earth.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, then you can also find out the QA number of your house. So let's say your Earth. At this time, I can't remember what your house
My
element
house number was 222.
Yeah. Now, is that not just...
I know.
Is that not just... What is that?
And here's the cool thing about it. And I think I've mentioned it on one of the shows before. I have always seen the number 222 or 22 or 42s. It has been a prevalent number my whole life. So when I met my husband, and after our second date, I dropped him off, and he's like, "Oh yeah, right here." And I saw the number. I was like, "Oh my God, he's the one," because I saw the 2s,
It's
and I was like,
perfect.
"Wow." So interesting, right? That
Very interesting. And that is also, there's a correlation with that, with another type of feng shui called 8-mansion feng shui. And it's based on your directions.
okay.
Whether you're a West group person or an East group person. And I believe you're a West group
Yes.
if you're a 2.
Yeah.
And you should be facing west, all the west, southwest, west, northwest, or northeast.
Right.
And each of those 4 auspicious directions will activate and promote your success, your career, your friendships, love, and your inner well-being.
So when you say the word facing, what do you
Yes.
mean by that for somebody watching
Okay.
who hasn't got a clue?
The facing of a structure or your home, that is imperative to get a good feng shui analysis with flying stars. The facing of a home, a lot of people think it is just the facing, which would be where your front door is. And in many circumstances, that is correct.
Right.
But generally, it is the most yang side of your house. Yang meaning bright, busy, just beautiful, open, spacious.
Right.
So, in a situation, you could have the facing of a home. You could have the street where your front door is. But if you're sitting on a lake or a golf course, the facing would be the back of your house.
Right.
Okay? And that is you have to get that right to do a good audit. And that's where a lot of feng shui consultants have a bit of difficulty in the beginning stages of their career, because it can be really quite intimidating. You can have a
Right.
front door on the side of a house. You can have,
Yeah, a lot of people have
it's
that.
very, but basically it is the front where the road is, the front door, etc.
Right.
Okay?
So you'd be good to know before somebody, if somebody out there is thinking of buying a house,
Yo, yes.
you need to get in touch with you, because it's important to know this if you want to move in. And, because we've all, not all of us, but some people I know have moved into homes and just went, oh, what was I thinking? This is not the place for me. And they're out of there in a couple of years or a year, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably because it's conflicting with their
for sure.
vibe,
and
right?
you also see homes that people keep moving in and out of, and those are called in Feng Shui, many consultants, what we call them a divorce house.
Yes.
There's all types of different structures,
Yes.
and there's structures. Form school Feng Shui identifies the environment around your house.
Yes.
We're not just concerned about the interior of the home. We're concerned about the environment around the home.
Exactly.
How busy it is. Are there trains running by, airports? Do you have poison arrows coming right at your front door?
Yes.
Do you have poison arrows?
Well, poison arrows, explain that. So
Okay.
they're not thinking people are,
We're getting our little arrow out and shooting it. No. Poison arrows signify any sharp corners coming at a person. You could be sitting at a desk and have a sharp desk coming at you, a wall that comes to two corners. And in the front door in Feng Shui, it's very important. The front entrance is very important. It's known as the mouth of the qi, where the energy enters.
Right.
And you want to have a really good front door with no poison arrows coming at you from across the street. It could be your neighbor might have a gable pointing right at you. You could have severe poles pointing at you.
How could you rectify that?
Yeah, you can rectify that. Yeah, for sure. With soft landscaping. You could put soft trees and bushes. That's one way to do it. You can also hang specific crystals in a certain area just to help disperse that negative qi coming at you.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be, your house doesn't have to look like a Chinese restaurant. It really doesn't.
Right.
There's so many other things today that you can have good energy without utilizing all these types of knickknacks, etc.
Exactly.
If you wanted to keep it a little bit low key. But as far as poison arrows, and I know it's for certain because in my office at home, I did have a wall that was completely pointing right at me. And around 2 o'clock every day, my energy would just be done. Yeah. So I moved my desk around so that I would be in proper position anyway, which is facing the door. You should always be in the power position when you're sitting at your desk, or even you can even use the 8-mansion Feng Shui for eating, or at a meeting, let's say, to have that extra little, little extra edge there.
Yeah.
And what does it hurt to try? I know that I've tried my sleeping directions. Now a lot of people will ask me, what if my husband is an East person and I'm a West person? Well, usually in that situation,
the woman wins.
Yay! Yes, the woman could win because nowadays both are breadwinners of the family usually.
Yeah.
So you usually pick one of the couples and then use the other direction as a door, the front door, so you can split it up. That sort of thing. No, you don't have to sleep at your husband's feet. Or he doesn't have to sleep at yours.
Yeah, that would
There's
not
ways
be cool.
to get around it in Feng Shui. There's a remedy. There's a cure that it's called.
Awesome.
For everything.
So what would be a no-no? What would you say, definitely don't do this in your home?
Okay. Well, number one, we're all going to talk about clutter. Okay. And by that, I don't mean, I'm not talking about having a few knickknacks on your coffee table. I'm talking about big clutter. Big clutter. Of boxes and things that you haven't looked at for years on end. Because that is yin. That represents yin, which is dark, negative energy, and you want to clean that up. You can still have it, organized clutter.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But you have to get in there and clean around there, break up that energy.
Yeah,
by
because it becomes stagnant, right?
It becomes stagnant.
Sitting and
sitting. So clutter is, I'd say, one thing. Try to, especially on the most important areas in your home in Feng Shui, the front entrance, your bedroom, and the kitchen. The kitchen's a very important area in the home too, because it's the stove in Chinese that represents wealth, auspiciousness, and nurturing. So you want to make sure your stove is in a fairly good position. If you can be facing out on your stove so you can see what's coming at you, that's a good thing. Having said that, a lot of schools of Feng Shui would prefer the stove on the wall so that you have the support of the wall for cooking. And also, too, it's better to have your stove in a not so good, one of your negative directions. so that it burns off the negative energy.
Oh, right. Okay.
But also, too, in the kitchen, I wouldn't have too much red or too much other things that represent the fire element, unless the annual energies change, and they do every year, as you just said before.
Right.
So the remedies and the...
So what would be a good color for next year in a kitchen?
Well, next year probably we're going to be coming in with the colors will probably be a little bit earth tones, I believe.
Right.
I haven't really done the schedules for 20 yet.
Yeah, sorry for putting you on the spot there.
It's fine. It's fine. It's so much fun.
Right. Yeah.
And but I really do believe I think it's earth energy coming in.
Yeah.
But we can always look back at that.
That's cool. Well, what we'll do is when we post this, you can put a little note in if it changes.
Yes.
Well, it has been amazing chatting with you about Feng Shui, and hopefully we've given our viewers a chance to rethink of how they've got their living situation and how their home is situated, and little tips that they can do to break up that negative, any poison arrows, and create positive chi in their home. Thank you so much, Sherry, for joining us today.
You're so very welcome, Liz. I hope that this opened up a few of your viewers' eyes to Feng Shui, and don't be intimidated by it. It can be quite analytical.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask, how would people be able to get in touch with you?
Yes, they can get in touch with me on my website at www.sereneenergyfengshui.com, all one big word. And my home phone number is 289-820-5116.
Awesome. So I'm going to end the show on a little Chinese proverb that Sherry brought in for me. When there is beauty in the soul, there is beauty in the person. When there is beauty in the person, there is harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there is harmony in the nation. And when there is harmony in the nation, there is peace in the world. Thank you.